Today, I want to share about my money anxiety and my emotional spending. Welcome back to my channel. For the new people, I'm Ira and an expat living in Germany, figuring life out. This month has been for me my money reflection month, and maybe you want to check the previous videos and maybe to get a bit of more context of what I will be talking about today. There is something about being your own safety net that changes your thinking and how you work with money. And I didn't think I was understanding that until I started living it. And to be honest, this is not something that is only relatable to the people who live abroad, but it's applicable, I guess, to everyone who is figuring out life by themselves. And I want to clarify, maybe because it's not super obvious, that I'm really grateful for everything I was provided. I'm very thankful for what I have achieved, what I earn, and what I can afford. And as always, there are better position, so somebody can be in a better position than you or in a worse than you, and I am just talking about my struggles and how it affected and evolved during my expat life. And if you are having the same feeling, we are meeting on the same spot. And I want to start with saying that living abroad changes everything you had envisioned before, how you had thought your life would be. And of course, one of the main pillars of the life that you envision of creating is money. And living abroad changes also how you see money. And the most obvious one is that back home you have your support system, that it might be family, friends, cousins. You know the system better, you know where to ask for help. And when you move out of this zone, and automatically you get rewired to this new environment where you need to figure out how to do things. And usually life happens, emergencies happen, and by default, emergencies are very difficult to handle, especially if it's like you are new to this. Imagine if this is happening not in your country, and if it's money involved that maybe you don't have. The idea of having an emergency fund, especially the first months, it's a bit haunting, but when you start building on it, then you understand that it's a must. By also emergencies happening, you need to take decisions, right? So what made it even heavier was that I would need to take decisions without having parent helping a bit with the situation. And it felt like it was the end of the world, even though it would be the easiest thing to decide on, that maybe wouldn't affect really on my everyday life or in whatever I might do, and it was not as heavy as it was on my head. It felt final, like you can never undo this. Fortunately or unfortunately, put it as you want, it depends on the situation, if you ask me. Your stability depends clearly on you. And after any kind of emergency, there was the emotional spending. Emotional spending regarding you solving this emergency. Emotional spending because you are lonely. Emotional spending because you are happy. Emotional spending because you deserve it. You are living abroad and alone. I can really stay here for minutes and tell you different reasons of what I could actually spend on and justifications that I could give to myself so I could spend. But Still, thinking back, I don't judge myself because I think I really needed those rushes of happiness, that serotonin amount that I was receiving. It was a crucial part of my life, and I can understand it because when I came to Germany, that was my only way that I could comfort myself. I don't really judge myself about that, but as a retrospective, I know I was doing that because of that reason. And another type of emotional spending, and I guess all of us who come from Eastern Europe can relate because it's our culture and the way we are raised. And this is not an emotional spending because I cannot control it, so it doesn't fall in this category, but it's emotional spending because I connect my money and the sharing of my money as happiness and an achievement. And this need or a push or emotional side of the money that I have to share it with who I love, maybe just maybe, and from my observations, comes from our culture, that everyone who was an immigrant living not in Albania was in a better position and they are able to actually provide. I don't think it's really important to find out where this comes from. Becoming a bit more like concrete on what do I mean, I really like helping my parents. It's something that fulfills me, even though, thank God, they don't need it, but it's one of my most favorite thing to do, to provide to them an extra gift, something that they might not have an accessibility towards. That this really makes me feel better when I can gift them things. But on the other hand, it also creates this kind of guilt that if you don't, you are really living your life and you are traveling, you're buying things you want, you are investing in your hobby, these spendings do accumulate, and sometimes it's not possible to always offer something because you might have been spending a little bit more here and there. And unfortunately, this that I cannot help, I cannot bring something more, I cannot provide, is fully charged with guilt. I know it's not right, but that's the feeling I do have. And here's where my intrusive thoughts come in, because this thought and guilt, always negative emotions do not come alone, and they do not there is not just single negative emotion, even though I read somewhere that emotions do live in us only for 60 seconds, I think, or 90, I'm not sure, sorry about that. And our brain stimulates and wants to stay on this negative emotion longer. And this is why we have the feeling that we are longer sad, longer mad, longer angry. So my brain catches this guilt and makes it even more spiraling in my head, that okay, maybe you should have been in a better position economically. Okay, not a billionaire, but I don't know, maybe in a higher position in your company. And then you start thinking, am I doing enough? Am I late? Could I do more? And as you can understand, it's not really staying on the money talk. It goes beyond that to, am I personally where I should be? And I can argue if this is the correct wording, but for now, it's exactly the wording that should be there for representing the thoughts in this specific moment. And this then evolves to your brain living in both places, Albania and Germany. You comparing your progress with you in Albania and you in Germany. What would have happened if you were still staying in Albania? What would have happened if you were pushing a little bit harder in Germany? It sometimes feels like you live emotionally and economically in two places. If I would say in other words, I would say that it feels like you're building your life in two different places. With negative emotions, not always, but for me, all my anxiety gets woken up. What I have learned during my entire journey, living alone and having to figure out things by myself, is that anxiety doesn't always mean that there is something wrong or that you are in a wrong position, you're just feeling bad and you need to overcome it. And with this, also, I learned that not all our decisions that we make in the past with the information that we possess and at that specific moment need to be judged. We need to be very empathetic with ourselves, and this will help us be empathetic with others as well later. But we need to understand why we are doing some things. We need to navigate through them so next time does not feel as heavy as the first one. My belief has been that I don't regret anything. I have done everything that I did till now in my life, with me being present, choosing, and making my decisions. They might be right or wrong. You are the only person that can actually evaluate that. We wouldn't be us, you wouldn't be you, I wouldn't be me if we wouldn't have taken some right or wrong decisions. And yeah, money might feel always weird, might feel always heavier, but the most important thing is that you stay true to yourself and just trust the process of how you navigate through different pillars of your life. And that was it from my side. I felt like a daily. That was it from my side. But yeah, I couldn't close nicer my video for this week. See you next week on the last video of what money means to us. See you!